In this new episode of Your Moving Mind, we're going to talk about the basics of habit creation. The three basic components that each habit has. You can play with them, you can fiddle with them, you can adjust them in order to make a habit stick. You can play with them in the inverse way to get rid of habits that you don't want in your life. Get to know them, be aware of them, and you'll be able to modify your behavior and make it more aligned with yourself, with your identity, and with your goals. You're listening to Your Moving Mind, the meeting point of movement and mindfulness, and everything in between. Move your mind, mind your movement, with your host, Michael Landau. Before diving into today's episode, let me tell you about mindful movement every day. I've recently created a 5-day course that takes you through the process I developed in the last few years. This course, Mindful Movement Every Day, is so far completely free. It leads you through 5 daily movement sessions. You slow down, you pay attention, you explore yourself for a few minutes, and you improve. Mindful Movement Every Day doesn't only give you 5 days of mindful movement, it teaches you how to keep doing it for a short moment every day. I don't know how long it will stay free of charge, so don't wait too long. Go to persistent-growth.com and sign up. Start moving mindfully today, and you'll never want to stop doing it. persistent-growth.com. And I'll see you in mindful movement every day. Why is it so difficult to change a behavior, to create a new habit? Something that we know is good for us, we want in our life, and we still find it really difficult to turn it into a habit, to do it regularly. We may be motivated one day, 1 week, 1 month, and then it kind of slips away. There's a lot of science around behavior change and habit creation. So, the very basics. There are 3 components to a habit. There's a trigger, there's the behavior itself, and there's a reward. All habits have these 3 components. They're very changeable, they change over time. You can play with it quite a bit in order to create new habits, to sustain new good habits you want in your life, and reduce or get rid of bad habits, which are habits that you don't want in your life. We all have them. So the trigger is an issue. If you want to create a new habit, you must think of the trigger. This is the thing that is going to prompt, cue, trigger the behavior, and it has to be in place. Every behavior that is repetitive has a trigger or multiple triggers. I was a smoker in an ancient phase of my stupid youth. So smoking, lighting a cigarette, was prompted by many things, pretty much everything. I mean, sitting in front of somebody who lights a cigarette, a prompt. Taking a sip from my beer when I'm sitting in the bar with friends, a cue to light another cigarette. Finishing a meal, cigarette. Getting up from bed, a cigarette. I sometimes smoked early in the morning. Not recommended. It's really not about information. We all know that smoking is bad for us. Still, there are quite a few smokers around, and the information doesn't make them stop. So one thing you can do with your cue for behaviors that you want to encourage in your daily life, create the prompt, make it visible, make it out there so you can see it, feel it, hear it, whatever it is. Make it more immediate and more present in your life, and you're more likely to prompt the desired behavior. If you're a smoker, still, not likely, but anyway, when there is a behavior that you would like to reduce or eliminate from your life, hide the trigger. If you just put the pack of cigarettes in another room, in a drawer, the cigarette in one drawer, the lighter in a different drawer, further up in the kitchen, in two different rooms, do that. The trigger will not be visible. It is less likely to trigger your behavior, where the visible cue is simply not there. And you've created some steps that make the behavior a little more difficult. Just a tiny bit more difficult. I mean, there's no problem. You can go and get them, right? Still, you have created some steps. You have made the behavior less immediate. It doesn't trigger so rapidly and so immediately. And it really makes a difference. I mean, same thing, we have our cigarettes of this era, the smartphone. You want to use it less, you want to not use it at some moment, 1 hour before bedtime, very recommendable. Put it somewhere else, put it in a drawer where you don't see it, where you don't hear it, make it silent, and where it's out of sight and also a little bit further away from where you are. So grabbing it is not that easy. It is still not difficult, but you have to do some other step in order to get there. Less likely to happen. It really works. That's the trigger. You play with the trigger, you can modify your behavior to be more the way you want it. Okay, and then the behavior itself. So I already touched on it. If you want to encourage a behavior, make it as easy and immediate as possible. You want to eat more fruit? Make the fruit visible. Put it on your dining room table. If it's there in front of you, it triggers you to take a fruit and eat it, but it's also very immediate. It doesn't take any steps. You don't have to do anything. You wash it before it is ready to be eaten. You're more likely to do it. And if you need any preparation to make the habit more immediate, make it beforehand as much as possible. You have to be creative about it. You have to invent your ways to make the behavior as easy and immediate as possible. Okay, and another good way to make a behavior more likely to happen is if the unit of behavior is very small and short. So again, we're trying to make it easy. So make a very small demand on yourself. You're thinking about exercising an hour every day? Difficult. You don't have that hour. If it's not part of your life. So what if you think of creating some kind of training environment at home where you don't have to go anywhere? This is a beginning. If you want to get to an hour a day, you can work on it, but start with 3 minutes. What is it that you can do without changing clothes, without putting on shoes, without getting out of the house? Can you start with that? It is more likely to become a habit if it is really easy to do. And create the prompts. What do you need? A mat on the floor? Your sneakers right next to the bed so these are the shoes that you put on. Your training clothes, if that's what you need, whatever it is. Your weights, you want to lift weights? Where are they? Hidden somewhere in a closet, or do you have them at plain sight? Make it easy, make it immediate, and it is more likely to settle in, to be prompted by something visual and present, and to be easy and immediate and short in time. This is the way to start a habit. For some habits, it is good enough and you can keep them that small and that short. It may be enough to keep it really short and simple. It's a possibility. I don't know what habit we're talking about, so I'm kind of just generalizing. But it's possible. You don't need to get over-ambitious if you manage to be constant and consistent. And then the third component, the reward. How do you make the behavior rewarding? And I'm not talking about long-term benefits. Our brain doesn't really respond to this. I mean, knowledge is not really the main motivator for behavior. Yeah, we know smoking is bad for us. We can still be smokers. We know we need exercise. We can still be couch potatoes. Knowledge is great, but it's not the main motivation. You need a reward that is immediate. When you do the behavior, you get some kind of reward. And if the behavior is really small and really short and it's just a tiny thing that you want to do, like start to exercise, I don't know, put your sneakers on and don't do anything. This is a good first step. You can start with that. Give yourself a reward that is somehow related to the behavior that you're looking for. It has to be aligned. Okay, so if it's about training and living more in a more healthy way, you will not reward yourself by getting an ice cream, right? Or a piece of cake. Think of something different. And for very small behaviors, it is really enough if you simply recognize your achievement. You just give yourself a sign of recognition. So for some people, a habit tracker works very well. You can have a diary, you can have it on a document in your computer, or there are apps for it. Track your habits. So you did your daily habit, tick it as done. Good enough. This is a reward. You get some tiny shot of dopamine as in your reward system. Give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah, I did it. Say yes. Stand in front of the mirror and give yourself a high five. All of these are rewards. They work as rewards. You just don't take it for granted. Don't just leave it at that and go to the next thing. It may take a second. Give the achievement of having done the behavior some kind of recognition. And of course, you can, if it's a longer, larger behavior, you meditated for 10 minutes, great. You make yourself your favorite tea and sit for a couple of minutes and drink it. This is also kind of a way out of the meditation that could be a meditative state in itself. So it is, again, related, aligned with the behavior. It's a possibility. Find your reward. But really, recognize, give yourself credit for the achievement. It can be really small. If you're a little childish like me, you can have little heart stickers that you put in your diary. You did your behavior, put a red heart sticker in today's slot. It is nice. You'll enjoy it. So, recapitulate. First, every habit, every repeated behavior, you can consider it good one or bad one. It works the same way. It has a trigger, something that prompts the behavior. It can be many triggers. It can be something very specific. It can even be a mental trigger, a thought, a sensation. I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I'm going to the fridge for the ice cream cube. That's a trigger, okay? Possible. And then the behavior itself, try to make it easy, try to make it short, make it as doable as possible. So it's not a big challenge. So you don't need willpower. It's really not about willpower. Willpower is not what moves your regular daily behaviors. And motivation is not the thing either. I mean, you need motivation to start a behavior, but it doesn't sustain over time. Motivation fluctuates. This is a fact. It doesn't mean you don't have willpower or you're weak. It just happens like this. So what happens if you count on motivation? What do you do in days where you are not motivated? You're tired, you're angry, whatever, something happened. So what? You don't do it? Motivation is not the motor that keeps the thing going. Okay? Make it short, make it easy, make it immediate, make it visible. All of these things that can make it simply easier to do the behavior. And reward yourself in some small way that is aligned with the behavior itself, and that give yourself the recognition, a tiny shot of dopamine as a reward every time you do it. Sometimes we stop rewarding ourselves when a habit starts to become more habitual and it happens more easily. We just let it go. It's really advisable to keep the reward going. In some behaviors, the behavior itself becomes its own reward because you enjoy it. You do something that you hopefully like to do, want to do, you start enjoying it, it starts becoming its own reward. People who go to the gym regularly really get kind of positively addicted to it. It really changes the body chemistry in a way that they crave the behavior itself. It becomes its own reward. They don't need much on top of it. It's a possibility, but it will take some time. So, why is it so difficult to create in our lives the behaviors that we want to be part of our lives? Why is it so difficult to get rid of behaviors we don't want to do regularly? These are some of the components that are in place, that building blocks of the behavior, and if we're conscious of them and can play with them and can construct the sequence in such a way that they work in our favor, we can advance and have more of the things we want in our lives as regular behaviors and less of those things that are more addictive and we know are not that good for us and we'd like to do less. We can reduce those. Okay, keep this in mind. I hope it is helpful. See you around.